Have you ever looked at someone who's achieved something truly legendary and just wondered how? Well, the source material we're diving into today has a really fascinating take on this. It argues that it's not just about talent or even luck, it's about a specific kind of madness, an obsessive, all-consuming passion for what you do that can literally turn rejection into triumph and, get this, insults into empires.
Okay, let's get right into it. The source uses this fantastic Hindi word, pagolpan, which basically means madness or craziness. Now, we're not talking about clinical insanity here. Think of it more as a level of drive so intense that it completely changes the way you see the world and your place in it. You know, what's so cool about this slide is that it basically gives us a formula, a recipe for greatness. It's this powerful combination of three things. First, you need og, a fire in your heart for what you do. Then zid, a stubborn, almost unreasonable grit in your mind. And finally, the fuel for it all, pagolpan, that madness inside. That's the engine that drives extraordinary success. And here's where it gets really interesting. This is the key difference, right? Most of us were woken up by an alarm clock. It's something external telling us to get up. But people with this obsessive drive, they are literally pulled out of bed by their own dreams. Their ambition is their alarm clock. For them, work isn't just a job, it's a mission that totally consumes them. So what happens when this kind of obsessive grit slams up against a challenge that seems completely impossible? Well, to see what that looks like in action, let's look at one of the most incredible stories in the history of sports. This is just wow. Okay, so picture this. Michael Phelps, 2008. He publicly announces he's going to win 8 gold medals. People thought he was crazy. And then disaster strikes. He breaks his hand, a career-ending injury for most swimmers. But this is where that pagolpan kicks in. He couldn't use his arms, right? So what does he do? He spends an entire year training by swimming only with his legs. He turned a catastrophic weakness into an unbelievable advantage. And the result? 8 gold medals and a new world record. That right there is what grit looks like. Okay, so the Michael Phelps story is all about overcoming a huge physical obstacle. But what happens when the obstacle is, well, society itself? What about when you're facing constant, soul-crushing rejection? Let's check out another really powerful example of this mindset. Just take a second and look at this list. I mean, failing your university entrance exams 5 times. Getting rejected from over 30 jobs. He was even told he wasn't good enough to be a waiter at KFC. For pretty much anyone else, this would be a clear sign from the universe to just stop. But not for someone with that fire inside. And boom, here's the result. That relentless pagolpan, that refusal to quit in the face of failure, is what led Jack Ma to create Alibaba. He just ignored all the no's, channeled that obsessive energy, and built one of the biggest e-commerce giants on the planet. The world kept telling him no, but his inner drive was screaming yes. Now, this is where it gets really wild. This kind of madness can take something super negative, like a personal insult, and use it as rocket fuel. This next story is just the perfect example of how you can turn humiliation into a lasting legacy. So try to imagine this scene. You've got Ferruccio Lamborghini, who is a really successful tractor maker. He buys his dream car, a Ferrari. But he finds a problem with the clutch. So he goes to the man himself, Enzo Ferrari, and offers a solution. But Enzo just scoffs at him, tells him to go back to building tractors and leave the real sports cars to the experts. And here's the thing. He didn't just get mad. He got obsessed. That single insult lit a fire under him. He decided he wasn't just going to complain. He was going to build a better car. He channeled all of that fury and created Lamborghini. A brand that today is a global symbol of automotive perfection. A whole empire born out of one single insult. And what's amazing is that this pattern, this kind of obsessive drive, isn't just in business or sports. It shows up everywhere. Let's look at how this same principle applies across totally different fields. Take someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. The source points out he came from a really humble background. His father was a gardener, but it was his obsessive, almost fanatical dedication to his craft, to training harder than anyone else, that turned him into one of the greatest soccer players ever. It wasn't just talent, it was a madness for perfection. Or what about MS Dhoni? His story is just legendary. He was a regular guy, working a job as a ticket checker for the railways. But his buckle bun for cricket was so powerful that it drove him all the way from the train station to the world stage, where he became the captain of the Indian national team and a hero to millions. And the source we're looking at highlights that you even see this in politics. The The journey of Narendra Modi, from his early days as a tea seller all the way to becoming the Prime Minister of India, is presented as another powerful example of this same relentless, all-consuming drive to rise from an ordinary life to an absolutely extraordinary one. So, here's the most important point the source is trying to make. This isn't just about admiring famous people from afar. It's really about a choice that's available to every single one of us, between two totally different ways of living your life. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. On one hand, you have the normal life. You're woken up by an alarm, you're part of the crowd, and you know what? It's comfortable, it's safe. And then there's the other path, the path of obsessive passion. Here, you're woken by your dreams. You have to stand apart from the crowd. It is way harder, it's more demanding, but it's the only path that leads to the extraordinary. And that really brings us to the final question that this whole analysis leaves us with. It's a choice, right? A choice between a normal life and, well, a normal death, or embracing that inner fire, that stubbornness, that pagapan, to chase after something truly great. The source doesn't give us the answer. It just asks you to decide. So, what will you choose?